Backyard engagement? Only for poor people. My family refused to show up. Dad said, return the $20,000 we spent on gifts. I stayed quiet until my secret purchase revealed I wasn't poor at all, and they screamed, how could you afford this? And my lawyer handed them the documents. Backyard engagement? Only for poor people. Dad's voice cut through the living room like a knife. Mom didn't even look up from her phone. My sister Rachel laughed, her fake, practiced giggle echoing off the walls. Yeah, Jake, she snorted. Are you seriously going to have a cheap backyard party? God, how embarrassing. I stood there, holding the printed invitations I'd spent hours designing, watching their expressions for a sign, any sign, that this was some kind of sick joke. But it wasn't. It never was. I thought it would be nice, I managed, my voice barely steady. You know, something close. Just close family and friends. Rachel rolled her eyes. Close family? Who would even come? Your broke friends? The ones who carpool because they can't afford gas. My fingers tightened around the invitations. You don't have to come if you think it's so embarrassing. Oh, don't worry, Dad grinned, leaning back in his leather recliner. We're not coming. And I'd advise you to cancel the whole thing before you make a fool of yourself. Seriously, Jake? A backyard? Might as well host it at a gas station. I looked at Mom, hoping, praying for even a flicker of support. But she just scrolled through her phone, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the screen. You know, honey, your father's right. We have an image to maintain. What will people think? People? What people? I shot back, the anger rising now like a slow, suffocating wave. The same people who haven't even visited us in years? Or the ones who only remember I exist when they need a favor? Dad's smile faded. Watch your tone, boy. And don't forget, we've spent plenty on you already. In fact, he straightened, his expression shifting to one of malicious calculation. You should return the $20,000 we spent on gifts for your stupid engagement idea. Might as well get something back for this mess. My breath caught. 20,000? Are you insane? I didn't ask for that. Oh, but you will. Dad's smile returned, cold and sharp. You always do. And when this little backyard embarrassment of yours falls apart, don't come crying to us. I left, gripping the invitations so tightly they crumpled in my hands. But their words followed me out the door, twisting in my chest like a knife. They weren't coming. They were ashamed of me. And they were already counting the money I apparently owed them. But they didn't know one thing. They didn't know about the secret purchase I had made. A purchase that would shatter their assumptions. A purchase that would soon show them just how wrong they were about me. A week after I walked out of their house, clutching the crumpled invitations, my life became their playground for humiliation again. It started with the messages in the family chat. Jake wants a cheap backyard engagement. Well, he's used to living on pennies. Rachel. So, son, will you pay back the $20,000 we spent on you? Because it seems like you can't even afford an engagement. Dad. I didn't reply. I just stared at the messages, reading them over and over until they burned into my mind. But that was just the beginning. 2 days later, Dad posted a photo on Facebook, the whole family, without me. The caption read, True family together. Thank you for always supporting me, even when others forget what gratitude is. Others was me. The comments poured in like poison. Yeah, real family sticks together. Not those who drag you down. Jake's always been a burden. First, a leech at home, and now an embarrassment. I scrolled through the thread, teeth clenched. They were turning me into a joke. Their own son. That evening, I got a text from Rachel. Heard you're still planning that trashy backyard thing? Maybe set up a fundraiser for a real venue. I knew it wasn't a joke. To them, I was just a walking wallet. But their greed had no limit. A few days later, Mom messaged. Jake, your father says we need some help with the car loan. Remember, he spent everything on your upbringing. Upbringing? That's what they called their abuse? I didn't reply. And then the knife twisted. One Saturday morning, I woke up to strange transactions on my bank account. Someone had withdrawn $3,000. After a quick investigation, I found out the emergency credit card I'd given Mom for urgent needs had been used every week for shopping sprees. I came home that night, feeling a storm build inside me. But I didn't yell, didn't smash anything. I just sat down, opened my laptop, and started collecting evidence. Screenshots of family chat messages. Screenshots of their public humiliation posts on Facebook. Proof of the expenses on my credit card, all done by Mom. A document of a loan signed with my name, but I never signed it. But that was just the start. I wanted to know more, so I contacted a lawyer friend. His face turned serious as he looked over the documents. Jake, your father took out a loan in your name? That's fraud. Fraud. So it wasn't just humiliation. It was a crime. I asked him to draft a formal letter to the bank, demanding an investigation. But I didn't stop there. I took another step. I went to my fiancée, Lily. She only knew part of the story. I showed her everything, the messages, the bank records, the forged documents. She was silent for a moment, then whispered, Jake, you need to end this. Don't stay silent anymore. And I didn't. I posted a short message on my social media. Some families support you. Others consume you. Some will publicly shame you while draining you dry. But I'm done being silent. The comments flooded in. Friends reached out with support. Even those who had always stayed quiet began sharing their own stories about my family, how Dad would boast about my achievements when it made him look good but mock me behind my back. The next morning, I got a message from Dad. Take that trash down. You've disgraced us. I'm calling a lawyer. He's calling a lawyer? I smiled. They thought I was still the same boy who would silently endure their abuse. But I was ready. That same day, I made another call. To a real estate agent. Hi, this is Jake. I want to finalize the purchase of that house. Yes, the one by the coast. No mortgage needed. I'm paying cash. This was my secret. The secret they didn't even know existed. And when they find out, it's going to be an explosion. The restaurant was quiet, the kind of place where the soft hum of jazz tried to mask the tension in the air. I chose the booth at the back, my fingers resting calmly around a glass of water, though my heart pounded like a war drum. Then they walked in. Dad, pretending to be calm, his face twisted with barely concealed anger. Mom, eyes already glistening, a performance ready. Rachel, arms crossed, lips pressed into a smirk, the same smirk she used every time she thought I was too weak to fight back. They sat down without ordering anything, like this was an interrogation. And maybe it was. Jake, honey, Mom started, her voice soaked in false sweetness. Can we just talk this out like a family? I think there have been some misunderstandings. Misunderstandings. I leaned forward. Which part? The part where you humiliated me online? Or the part where Dad committed fraud using my name? Dad's face darkened. Watch your mouth, boy. Or what? I shot back. You'll take out another loan in my name? Dad slammed his fist on the table. You're being dramatic. This is just a family matter. No need to drag it into a family matter? I interrupted, my voice cold and sharp. Stealing my money, mocking me, calling me a failure, that's just family to you? Rachel finally jumped in, rolling her eyes. Oh, come on, Jake. You've always been so sensitive. Can't you take a joke? A joke. I slid my phone across the table. On the screen were their chat messages, the Facebook posts, all the insults. Tell me, which one of these was a joke? Mom's face paled. Dad's lips tightened. Rachel's bravado cracked. You think you can just parade in here and accuse us? Dad growled. We raised you. We made you who you are. No, I whispered, leaning forward. You tried to break me, but you failed. And that's when the door behind them opened. Sorry, I'm late. They turned and froze. My lawyer stepped in, placing a thick folder on the table. Who is this? Dad spat, his face turning red. My lawyer, I said, calm and cold. And this, I tapped the folder, is a little something called evidence. I flipped it open. A copy of the forged loan agreement, Dad's handwriting faking my signature. Credit card statements showing Mom's reckless spending on the card I trusted her with. Screenshots of their abusive messages in the family chat. Photos of Dad's public Facebook posts where he called me a loser. You stole money from me. You slandered me online. You forged my signature. My voice was steady, each word a hammer. And now you're going to answer for it. Jake, please. Mom's voice broke, tears pooling in her eyes. We're family. Don't do this. Family. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. You only remember that word when you need something. Rachel's fake confidence had melted into a desperate glare. You're really going to ruin us because of a few jokes? Because of a misunderstanding? This isn't a misunderstanding. I pulled out one last page. This is a notice from the bank. They're investigating Dad's fraudulent loan. And if you try anything else, I'll make sure the police are next. Dad stood up, his face twisted with rage. You ungrateful. But the door opened again. Sit down, all of you. They turned, and the color drained from their faces. It was Mr. Carter, a family friend. No, an old family ally, who had always seen through their lies. I think it's time you heard a few truths, Mr. Anderson said, crossing his arms. I've watched this family lie, manipulate, and bleed Jake dry for years. And I'm here to make sure he finally gets free. Dad stuttered, his anger evaporating into a desperate, trembling fear. Why you don't understand? I understand perfectly. Mr. Anderson stepped forward, his voice a quiet storm. And you're done. Jake is done. Mom burst into tears, clutching at Dad's sleeve. Jake, please, we can fix this. We can be a family again. I stood up. No, I already have a family. The one I chose. The one that doesn't destroy me. Dad's face twisted with desperation. If you leave us like this, you'll regret it. You'll need us one day. I smiled, a smile that was ice and fire. Need you? I have a new house. Paid in full. I have my savings, untouched by your greed. I have a lawyer, and I have the truth. I leaned closer. The only thing I don't have is any reason to keep you in my life. Don't you dare, Dad started, but I raised a hand, silencing him. I'm done. I'm cutting you off. No more money. No more help. No more calls. If you try to contact me, you will hear from my lawyer. They stared at me, their faces twisted with shock, rage, and fear. And one last thing, I said, pulling out my phone. I opened a live video, panning it to their shocked, pale faces. Say hello to everyone watching. Everyone who's seen how you treat your own son. They screamed. Mom lunged for the phone. Dad tried to grab it, but I was already walking out. Jake, you can't do this. Dad's voice cracked, breaking in desperation. I already did, I whispered, walking through the door and leaving them behind. Outside, the cold wind bit at my face, but it felt like freedom. I took a deep breath, the crisp air filling my lungs. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel weak. I felt alive. I thought I had seen the worst of my family. I was wrong. The letter arrived 2 weeks after I walked out of that restaurant, leaving them with their lies and shattered egos. A thick envelope from a local law firm. I almost laughed when I saw the return address. But when I tore it open, the amusement turned to cold rage. They were suing me. The lawsuit was filled with lies, emotional distress, defamation, and even theft of family funds. According to them, I was the villain, an ungrateful son who destroyed his loving family for attention. They claimed I stole thousands, ruined their reputation, and left them destitute. I was beyond anger. This was a declaration of war. I called my lawyer, Evan, and he wasn't surprised. They're desperate, Jake. But don't worry. We'll burn them in court. And we did. The court date arrived faster than I expected. I walked into the courtroom, a quiet storm burning inside me, and found them already there. Dad stood with his smug look, Mom with her fake tears, and Rachel whispering to her lawyer. Their eyes met mine, and for a second, I saw something. Not guilt, not shame. Just hatred. They wanted to destroy me. Dad's lawyer began with a dramatic speech about a son who betrayed his loving family, painting me as a greedy liar who abandoned them. Mom even cried on cue, and Rachel played the victim, nodding along like an actress in a bad drama. But I didn't flinch. When Evan stood, his voice was a sharp blade. Your Honor, this case is not about family values. It is about deception, fraud, and abuse. He pulled out the evidence I had gathered. The forged loan document with my name, but Dad's signature, poorly copied. Credit card statements showing thousands of dollars spent by Mom on a card meant for emergencies. Screenshots of the family chat where they mocked me, belittled me, and planned how to manipulate me. Facebook posts where Dad publicly humiliated me. Dad tried to speak, but the judge cut him off. Sit down, Mr. Anderson. The mask began to crack. Evan continued, his voice steady and calm. We also have proof that they tried to manipulate Mr. Anderson into providing more money through false accusations and emotional blackmail. Rachel's face went pale. Dad's confidence shattered. Then came the knockout punch. Evan introduced a surprise witness, Mr. Carter, the family friend who had seen everything. He testified, voice clear and unwavering, that he had witnessed my family's manipulative behavior for years. He described how they used me, lied to me, and then turned on me when I refused to be their victim anymore. The courtroom was silent. My family's lawyer tried to object, but the damage was done. The judge leaned forward, his gaze like a hammer. Mr. Anderson's evidence is clear and overwhelming. This is not a case of a son betraying his family. This is a case of a family betraying their son. Dad's mouth hung open. Mom buried her face in her hands. Rachel looked ready to faint. I am dismissing your case with prejudice, the judge declared. And I am ordering you, all three of you, to pay Mr. Anderson $50,000 in damages, as well as his legal fees. Any further attempts to contact him will be considered harassment. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, but I wasn't done. I stood, and in the dead silence of the courtroom, I spoke. You tried to destroy me because you thought I was weak. But I was just patient. I was giving you one last chance to prove me wrong. And you did. You proved exactly what you are. I turned and walked out. I didn't look back. Outside the courthouse, the wind felt fresher, the sky clearer. I looked at Evan, who smiled. That went well. It did. Thank you. Thank yourself, Jake. You finally stood up for yourself. But I had one last thing to do. That evening, I wrote a final post on social media. Family is supposed to be a safe place. But sometimes, it's a battlefield. I stood up against the lies, the manipulation, and the abuse. Not just for myself, but for everyone who has ever been used by those who should have protected them. Thank you to those who stood by me. And to those who tried to break me. I am still standing. I blocked my family on every platform. Their numbers were erased, their emails sent to spam. I was free, finally free. And my family? I didn't know, and I didn't care. They lost their pawn, their scapegoat, their easy target. But I found something far more important. I found peace. They thought I would cave, that I would back down, maybe even forgive them. But reality is cruel to those who live in lies. The first payment came 2 weeks after the court's decision. A cold, silent transaction, $10,000. A third of what they owed me. I didn't react. I didn't answer Mom's desperate emails, where she begged me to be reasonable. I didn't reply to Dad's drunken voice messages, where his anger bled into slurred apologies. I didn't even acknowledge Rachel's social media posts, fake stories about how I betrayed them. But they had no choice. Dad tried to sell his old truck, but the buyer found out about the lawsuit and offered half the price. His friends, who used to cheer him on, stopped returning his calls. His reputation? Shattered. Mom sold her jewelry, her golden bracelets, her silver pendants, even the heirloom necklace she once promised Rachel. Each sale a tear, each tear another drop of shame. Rachel, ever the manipulator, launched an online fundraiser. Help a daughter survive family trauma. It read, filled with lies about how I was the abusive brother who abandoned them. But it backfired. People recognized her from my viral post, and the comments flooded in. This is the girl who mocked her own brother. You mean the one who stole money and lied? Don't donate. She's a fraud. The fundraiser vanished. And so did Rachel's friends. Finally, they did the one thing I knew they would. They crawled to the bank, begging for a loan, one with sky-high interest. A desperate attempt to scrape together the $50,000 they owed me. They did it. But the cost was poison. They didn't just lose money. They lost their pride, their dignity, and each other. Dad's resentment for Mom turned to shouting matches. Rachel screamed at them for ruining her life. Their house, the one they used to flaunt, became a prison of blame and bitterness. But me? I was free. I stood on the balcony of my coastal home, feeling the cool breeze wash over me. Below, the waves crashed against the rocks, a constant, soothing rhythm. My dog, Rocky, a rescue with golden fur and bright eyes, curled at my feet. He wagged his tail, watching the seagulls dance over the water. The sun dipped lower, staining the sky in shades of orange and pink. And for the first time in years, I felt peace. They thought they could destroy me, that they could use me, humiliate me, and leave me broken. But I never broke. I thrived. My phone buzzed with a notification, an email from my lawyer. The final payment had been deposited. The full $50,000. Paid in full. They were free of me, but I was free of them. I stared at the screen, then deleted the email without a second thought. My life was finally mine. Work became a place of excitement, not escape. My focus led to a promotion, a team lead in cybersecurity, a role I never imagined while drowning in their chaos. Lily and I planned our wedding, a small ceremony by the beach, surrounded by real friends. No lies, no drama, just the truth. And Rocky, our golden rescue, became a symbol of everything I had become, free, strong, and loved. One evening, as the stars began to dip the sky, Lily joined me on the balcony. She handed me a cup of coffee and leaned against the railing. Do you ever think about them? She asked softly. I smiled, watching the moon's reflection ripple on the water. Sometimes, I admitted, but only to remind myself of what I escaped. Lily reached down, scratching Rocky's ears. You made it out, Jake. And look where you are now. I glanced at the cozy, sunlit home behind us, my home. A place of warmth, of truth, of peace. I pulled out my phone, opened social media, and typed a final message. Family isn't who you're born with. It's who you choose. The comments flooded in almost instantly. Proud of you, Jake. You deserve this happiness. Never let them hurt you again. But I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I set the phone down, watching the waves roll against the shore. Rocky barked, chasing the breeze, and Lily laughed, her voice a soft melody in the fading light. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom.